we go. I think we are properly loaded up, so have something worth talking about, looking at, maybe. If I can get properly scooted in. There we go. Good evening. I can do it. There we go. How are we doing this evening? Out there on the intertubes. Trying to get guests set up. Good evening. Let's see, I need Brace over there. There we go. Yeah, is anybody popping in here go to Lightbox? Or been before? I just got in this morning. Alright, what do we got here? Hmm. Hey, Bosch. Should move your bed back over here, huh? There's your bed. Would you like your blankets? Alright, put that blanket on. Alright. Go. Because it is a Monday night. Good evening. Oh, hey, Bosch, welcome back over here. Didn't see you sneak up over here. Alright. I'm gonna play around with these purple here. Alright. Let's see, that's too close. Good evening, people popping in. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Popping in and out. How are we doing? "10 p.m. hobby." That's quite a statement. Good evening. Good evening. How are we doing? Good evening. Hello, Anita. Over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Just got back from Pasadena. Had a really incredible time at Lightbox. Wore myself out talking to people. Thankfully, I haven't had a lot of conversations since last night, so a little bit, but not a lot. Does everybody know what Lightbox is? Thought I'd do some sketching since I'm a little worn out from the whole traveling and talking and walking and all of that. So go back to the other projects later. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everybody popping in all of a sudden. How are we doing? Let me know if there's any questions out there. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, Elaine. Appreciate it. It's quiet, Monday. What is today? Monday? Today's Monday, right? I think it's still Monday, right? I'm just recovering from Lightbox. So, just got in this morning. Went and got the dog. Yep, still Monday? Oh, good. Yeah, I have class tomorrow. I gotta teach, so shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I did check it this afternoon. Be sure I was not gonna show up too lost in the morning. Of course, I will also be your cult leader for the week. So, you have to obey all of my commands. Maybe get my logo tattooed or something. Yeah, I've been intermittent on my live streaming lately. So I've been gone. I haven't been home a single weekend in October. Looks like that's going to continue through this week too, which is kind of crazy for me. So it's been my dream always to have been a cult leader. I've been working on some initiation and doctrinal things for everybody to obey. Mostly it involves giving me lots of money, but and expensive gifts, which should satisfy the elder gods. So hopefully that'll be to everybody's satisfaction. Yeah, so hopefully that'll be to everybody's satisfaction, right? You know, having oh, good. Is everybody familiar with Lightbox? I did notice some Lightbox cultists at the event. They were you're familiar with Lightbox, though. It's run by Bobby Chu. It's a big convention for illustrators, concept artists, animators, etc. They've been holding, I think, since 2019. And so if you're familiar with Schoolism, maybe, it's like an online tutorial site. But Bobby Chu, he's been a concept artist since I actually, about the time I graduated, he kind of showed up. It's like 2000, early mid 2000s. I think his big first project was Alice in Wonderland. But he started a tutorial site called Schoolism, and it's been very successful. It has a lot of really great courses by professional illustrators and other artists, and it's a really helpful resource. I wouldn't necessarily use it if I were like trying to learn from the beginning necessarily, because it's not structured that way, but I think it's really, really good. I've been subscribed to it for a long time. Back in 2019, he decided to start doing a convention, and to kind of be a different type of convention than, say, a comic book or a fan convention. It's more about showcasing these artists who kind of make stuff outside of their usual kind of professional endeavors. And it's in Pasadena, California. Where they've been holding it, and so I was just over there. It's on the opposite side of the country. I'm in Virginia, in Richmond, but I got to present at it for the Infinite Painter app, which is a great painting app. It's not as well known as Procreate, but I got to present it in a couple of years ago. I think 2021, maybe, something like that, which was a lot of fun for me. And then this year I decided I wanted to go. I'm at a new university and have some research funds, so I ordered my ticket to it back in May. And my flight and all of that, and then the university decided to help some students go. So they put together a little scholarship, and we sent 5 students with some scholarship money out to it, and they had, looks like, a really incredible time doing portfolio reviews and all that. So at the event, there's things like portfolio reviews, there's presentations from different artists and different companies, and a lot of popular concept artists are just walking around, helping people out. And then there's like a merch kind of area where artists have like their books or prints and kind of your typical like Comic-Con type stuff for sale, while there's also the presentations going on. So so there's a couple professors and I, and the group of scholarship students, and then there was also some other students that kind of came on their own. There's probably like 10 or 12 of us there. I don't know the exact number, but there was a bunch of us. So originally it was just going to be me going by myself. I was looking forward to that, and then everybody came, which was also good too. But I kind of changed my own little mission a bit in terms of what I was expecting out of it. But yeah, so I attended a whole bunch of the different presentations and saw some old friends. I even saw former students I had in Asia when I lived in Hong Kong that were there, that live locally. One of them's a Disney Imagineer now. Other one, she does more kind of freelancing. And then students from previous universities were there, along with professors and other people that I know from other schools. So it was good getting caught up with all these people. I appreciate that. I've been working on kind of getting my drawing from imagination improved for figures. I've taught life drawing or figure drawing from the live model for about 20 years. Well, I started teaching it 20 years ago. I've taught it off and on since then, but I never focused very much on character design, and so my new teaching position is professor of concept design. And I decided I need to spend a lot more time working on characters and kind of drawing them from imagination. So I've made that kind of a major point of study. So between drawing from reference, but I've also been practicing just drawing straight out of my head, constructing the figure in ways hopefully that are okay looking. It's definitely gotten better at playing around, with the inking media as well. Hello, Felicia. Welcome, welcome. We're getting a little crowd over on YouTube. Usually during the middle of the week it's really quiet out here, but I haven't been on as much this month just because I've been on the road. I was saying earlier I haven't been home a single weekend in October, and it looks like it'll continue to be that way for the next weekend, this weekend too. I'm gonna go watch my sister's dog and cat, bring my dog back up there, and we'll hang out together for a week or so while she's out of town with her family. Minecraft. Oh, what's funny is I've sort of drawn Minecraft stuff before. Sort of. Maybe I'll go see if I can find it in like 2 minutes. I'll be right back. that dry yet? Maybe? Close enough, I think. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. Found it. Yeah, so there you go. How's that? This was part of a larger assignment I taught at a previous university at Ringling College of Art and Design. And students, this was my demo project, and you can see up there. But basically it goes through and it teaches 1 point perspective in a super precise way. So I've got all these demo sheets here, but basically I do kind of a 1 point perspective precise layout, and then you have to construct a garden out of simple primitives. So things like you would find in a Minecraft situation, right? And then once they have the garden kind of built out of those primitives, then they go out and take photographs of textures and map them onto these cubes. So they study textures. It's like you see the texture here, or the leaf texture up here. And we're kind of doing a little bit in the style of what's called Mobius, who's Jean Giraud. He was a comic book illustrator. And so like here's some branches, just the flat texture study, then you map it onto a cube, or this wood stuff right here, you map that onto a cube, and kind of see how it works in the perspective there going back, like here's some sidewalk. And then you take these textures, so like you see the wood right here, right? It's kind of the same as the wood over there. So the wood there and the wood there, or you've got this metal canister there and there. You've got the clouds up there. So you kind of find out what all the textures you need, and then you can map them on. This is actually one of the courses I have on my teaching site. So funny that you ask about that, because it's a little advertisement. So if you go to myartprofessor.com, there's a whole course that walks you through how to use like real 1 point perspective and to create this. And students, I need to put some of my old student examples from the last school I was at on there. It's good. It's a good project because you kind of trying to get the feeling of depth at the same time as getting the perspective and the textures all mapped onto these surfaces. No, I mean it's the kind of intense perspective that you might use for architecture. Oh, my dog's blanket fell off. Better fix that, huh? But it's just how it's a way of learning perspective that also helps you solve a design problem. So one of the things that I was doing at that school, when I used to teach at Ringling College of Art and Design up until about a little over a year ago. I moved up to Virginia for a new teaching position, and but I was kind of tasked with teaching motion designers drawing, and so they're mostly kind of graphic design that's animated kind of students, but the person running the program, he really wanted students to learn to draw. And so we had one course in the fall that was perspective drawing, so we did assignments like that, and then one in the spring that was figure drawing. And so one of the things I was trying to figure out was not just teaching figure drawing. Oh, it looks like my camera's turned off over there. That's still working, but where'd these cameras go? That's interesting. They get loose. Huh. They were working before. That one's fine. Let me tell Alright, never mind. I guess those other cameras aren't working properly. I don't know what happened. I'll have to figure that out later. We don't want to stay on too long tonight, but yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. The camera that's pointing at me isn't working anymore. All of a sudden, and the one that was looking over my table is now missing. So, it's just weird. And I don't know why they all turned off all of a sudden. Oh well. Just as long as you can hear me okay, right? The overhead camera's working fine. It's just I had one that was pointed at my face. And, as beautiful as I am, I don't want anyone to miss out on that or something. But, yeah, but they really, I think they would have been happy, the school would have been happy with just like regular perspective class. But, I kind of realized that it would be better if it was, perspective is being used to solve design problems. So using it not just to do the perspective. Oh, okay, it's been off for a while. Yeah, I haven't checked over. I don't look over there very often, but yeah, I definitely see that there's no light on it, which is weird. And then there was one that was like pointed off to the side too, and they're both off, and I don't know why. But oh well. I think we'll live, right? But yeah, so I put together a set of assignments for the students there that would let me kind of help them out with learning to use perspective that made sense within their major. And so one of them was like that. So that in motion design, there tends to be a lot of that kind of simplistic stylization for the short animations that they do. And so I thought that would be a good one. Plus, it kind of teaches them how textures work and map to surfaces. As before they get heavy into 3D stuff. So that was like their first kind of major assignment. There's a simpler one I have them do first, but which is kind of like the basics of perspective, how to line things up with vanishing points and manipulate reference sources so it works with the perspective that you want it to work with, so you're not just copying the photo. And that's kind of the first one. And then the second one's that Mobius Minecraft garden. So they all design gardens and kind of do that whole process. And it's like 3 weeks. We spend like a week on the basics of the perspective, getting it kind of down. It's pretty intense. Like it's a lot of work, but I found that students are really kind of interested in working hard. There's a lot of complaints about lazy students and things like that, but I've generally found most students don't mind working hard if what they're working on has a purpose that they recognize, that suits, that aligns with their goals, or feels like it does. And so like kind of adjusting this course so it kind of worked with the things that they were trying to do in their other classes too, I think made a big difference for kind of how the intensity of the projects was received. So yeah, that was the first project. Second one, they have to do they have to redraw their room. Not right now. I'm just doodling ahead over here. I do have like an iPad up if I want to do some costume stuff on it, but I'm just kind of doodling a little bit. I'm actually really, really tired, but I'm trying to stay awake so I can go to bed at the correct time. I'd rather be sitting here drawing something and chatting than vegging out in front of a show. But yeah, so there's some Minecraft stuff. But yeah, that's one of the big assignments. The other ones, they have to like redraw their room in 2-point perspective, and then kind of do a kind of visual metaphor for their room, and then they render it without using any line, just black and white overlapping shapes. I don't know if it's clean or not, but it's definitely hopefully on there okay. I've been experimenting a lot with different inking techniques, kind of looking at a bunch of different people and figuring out some things. So like, messy inking techniques and cleaner ones. And then their third project, it kind of fits us a little bit with the Minecraft stuff in that they use what's called isometric perspective to draw like a little street corner. And then they have to draw that street corner from different points of view from within it using 1, 2, and 3 point perspective. That's experience a little bit. This is actually funny enough. This is year 20 since I started teaching. Started teaching in the fall of 2004, which is it's kind of funny. It's been that long. Part-time teaching, so I had other things I had to do, but it's a good gig for me right out of school because it let me study with some artists that I respected locally. And that was the first thing I started teaching, was figure drawing. And what's funny though is the offer for teaching figure drawing came as a matter of mistaken identity. So I was a student at the school, and I hadn't quite graduated. I'd done all my classes, but I walked, but I hadn't officially graduated. There was some test I had to take that overlapped with the beginning of the new semester, and getting kind of that final credit for a business class from a teacher who didn't know her stuff. But I got the opportunity to teach, and it turned out again to be a case of mistaken identity, which I didn't find out about until like 3 years later. I've been teaching for 3 years, adjunct, teaching a couple of figure drawing classes at a time at the school I was at. They had seen some really amazing, kind of anatomically correct, really beautiful drawings up on these whiteboards around the art building, and they thought they were my drawings, and they were not. What was his name again? I was just talking about it with somebody else recently. Michael Leonard. I think he's probably a doctor now. I haven't heard of it from him since I graduated, or since he graduated. He was double majoring in illustration and pre-med when I was a student. And he was a big fan of Michelangelo, so he liked to celebrate Michelangelo's birthday. And then he was a pre-med TA, so he would do like their cadaver lab. So they have like the dead body in the lab, and they would dissect it and show it to the students and memorize all the parts and all that medical stuff. And so he was really great anatomist and draftsman, and they thought his drawings on the wall that they saw on the whiteboards were mine. And they were not, of course. They were his. But so they were saying, "Oh yeah, we hired you because of these drawings we saw up on the wall." And I was like, "Oh, those weren't my drawings." Which was it was funny because they were happy with what I was doing, so it didn't make a difference. But I didn't know that was the case at the time until much later. But Yeah, as I was saying, I was out at Lightbox in Pasadena, California, um, which is that big. I got a set of these rapidographs recently, so I've been playing around with them. It's probably more of what Mobius would have used rather than a Micron. These technical pens as opposed to a fine liner. Got to meet all these incredible artists. I met, got to spend some time with Ian McCaig, who's probably most famous for designing Darth Maul. And so got to spend some time talking to him and getting his thoughts. And then met Tara Whitlatch, who she's probably most famous for one particular design, but she's worked on all kinds of stuff for decades. She's most famous for Jar Jar Binks as her design. I don't think she designed his voice, but I met her. I also met, again, another Star Wars person, Doug Chang. He designed the kind of the soldier robots, the soldier droids from the Phantom Menace and the prequels. He kind of took over kind of Ralph McQuarrie's gig at Lucasfilm back in the day, and got to meet him. And I sat in on a bunch of lectures from people that were really great while I was there, and saw some former students I had from when I was in Hong Kong, which was really great. One of them is a Disney Imagineer in the LA area. She's from the Philippines, I think Manila specifically, but since a lot of people are from there. So, but yeah, it's been 20 years since I accidentally got into teaching because they just asked me to do it, and jumped into that. Probably get the more kind of medium weight. This is a super tiny mark on it. I think I want to start with the 0.5. Oh, that's 0.6. That'll do though. I haven't put ink into all these pens yet. Yeah. So get that on there. Now, if you're interested in that Minecraft project, it's included on my teaching site as like a subscription thing on there. I plan on kind of getting back to updating that in the next month, working on the site. I haven't worked on it in a while due to all the moving, the new job and all of that. The plan is to kind of get back into that this November. So I haven't been promoting it a lot in the last couple years. I think there's some cool stuff on there, and there's some projects I want to finish, and some new ones I want to start that I think will be helpful for people. It's funny, I made a lot of these videos for the course I was teaching at Ringling. I took them with me, and I found out one professor downloaded them all off of the servers. I thought I had said, not to do that because they're mine. but apparently he just plays them in his class and doesn't actually teach the students. He just plays my videos. So I'm still teaching students at this very expensive private art school, apparently. Which is a little unprofessional, I think. But I thought about sending them a note to not do that, but then I thought, hey, I can say that those are so good that this $50,000 a year college is using them to teach their students instead of the teachers that are actually in the classroom, which is pretty cool. Well, I heard he was doing it a year ago. So the person that told me left recently, and he had seen it happen personally. And because I have a whole system for teaching figure drawing that can take anybody that doesn't know anything about drawing the figure, and it's kind of a basic structural approach where you walk away knowing kind of how there's like a 10-step process I teach students that teaches them certain measuring systems and specific anatomical aspects along with kind of certain structural approaches that are a combination of things I've learned from some really great teachers. And so I don't consider them necessarily original ideas, but I've taken kind of all these different things that I've found really, really helpful, and I've tested on students for, since I started teaching 20 years ago. And yeah, so I understand he was doing it a year ago. I don't know about this year because they don't have figure drawing until the spring, so they were doing it last spring or like a year ago spring. I guess it would be in last semester, so at least be up to the current semester. And yeah, but it's a private school. It's a very good school, and I know this teacher. I know he's perfectly capable of teaching students on his own, and he's got really great technique. So I'm a bit fascinated by this. If that's been the case throughout, or if it's just been like a temporary thing. So yeah, 'cause what happened is I made a bunch of these tutorial videos originally during COVID, the COVID nonsense, to kind of make it easier for students to deal with being online. And because I realized that how tedious it would be to kind of sit through demos. Sit through demos on on Zoom, learning perspective and figure drawing and anatomy. And so I figured it would be better if I made tutorial videos, and that way students could kind of do them in chunks on their own, and everything was kind of set up step by step for them. And I didn't like figure drawing online, but we didn't have much of a choice. It was either that or like I'm teaching across 2 different classrooms at the same time, and I'm broadcasting, from one classroom to the next, and it was just like it was a whole thing. And so I was like, let's just go online for simplicity's sake. And I found a lot of the masking policies to be kind of ridiculous, where students had to wear them all the time, but then they would be eating all together in the cafeteria with their masks off, and I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. Either it's it's a serious problem, or it's not. And it was clear to me that there's a lot of people who were pretending to be serious or thought they were being serious when they were in fact not. And I don't know, because I'm not a scientist. I just could see that there was a lot of inconsistency going on. So anyway, I put together these videos so students could kind of do the videos on their own time, and then they would turn stuff in once a week, and we would do critiques on Zoom. I just figured that was a better use of time, and so that's why I made all these videos for the students. And so when I left the school, I took them with me, because I made them on my own. I didn't make them under the the university didn't ask me to make them. It was a thing that I did for myself, and I thought I had taken them all with me, but it seems because I did give him warning. So if you need to take any notes or anything, you can do that. So I gave him like a weekend, and I guess he went through and downloaded everything instead of just taking notes. So I should not have trusted him, basically. Oh well, right. But I was thinking, I should send him a note to take it down when I found out about that during the Lightbox event. And then I was thinking, it's better than that. I'll just talk about it here, and talk about it when I actually get around to updating that course and getting it up on my teaching site. And I want to do it in such a way that it's kind of set up so that if you've got figure drawing near you, you can use that figure drawing experience to kind of learn it on your own, so you can kind of practice the skills, and then when you go into the actual figure drawing life session, if you have one locally, you can kind of get that confidence to do that from direct life, rather than just drawing from photos. So I'll probably have to go through and redo things anyway, but yeah, so as far as I know, he's still doing. I don't know if he's going to do it next semester or not, but because they do that figure drawing class in the spring, so January to April or May, whenever the semester ends there. Yeah, but it's interesting. I've talked to some professors, and they don't seem to think that they have to be good at what they're teaching, which I've always kind of felt that the first job of a teacher is to the first law of teaching is to know thy shit, right? And so if you're teaching like a 3D class or whatever, that you should know how to do the things and use the programs that the students are using. And be skilled at whatever the class is about. But I've found that not everybody feels that way. There may be exceptions to that, like for example, when I was at that school, I was assigned to teach motion designers drawing, and I don't do motion design at all. But I was just assigned to teach drawing. But they also started having me do the it's called the Senior Production Studio class, and my role in that class was to be their art director. And so I don't know how to animate. I'm not an animator at all. I like to say I've taught everything that doesn't move. But my role is to be their art director. So the art director isn't necessarily going to know everything that the artists are doing. And, the larger role was just to help them kind of have an outside perspective and to facilitate the discussion in the class. So, some professors, they like to use online tutorials. Like I've seen students, they're doing like LinkedIn tutorials for learning Illustrator and that kind of thing. But yeah, some people feel like they don't need to, which I've never. I've always been of the mind where you got to know what's going on. But again, that one class I didn't actually, but it was because my job in that class was not to teach them the software; it was to help them get to complete portfolio pieces. So like I can't teach them Cinema 4D or After Effects and all those programs that they use, but I can talk about timing and composition and those things. But it was really uncomfortable the first time I taught it because I'd never done that kind of class before where I didn't know what the students were doing, which was a little bit strange. But I really paid a lot of time, spent a lot of time kind of listening to them because I hadn't been through all of their classes. Obviously, I just been through things that I've taught. But that's the only time I've ever kind of been in that situation. And then if I'm in a class where I am teaching technical skill, I do want to make sure I know what's going on. In fact, one of the classes I was teaching was kind of this drawing for illustration class, which was basically a perspective class, and or it's supposed to be. Anyways, that's what I was teaching it as, and I was using Andrew Loomis for my reference for a lot of the content. I don't know if is anyone familiar with Andrew Loomis? He's a mid 20th century advertising illustrator. Wrote a bunch of books: Successful Drawing, Figure Drawing for All It's Worth, Drawing Heads and Hands, Creative Illustration. They're all considered kind of the classics for learning illustration skills. And they started republishing them a number of years ago. But when I was a student, you could only get them in PDF because they've been out of print since 1940 or something. And they're really incredible. You can get them all now. In fact, I think I've got some of them in here. Yeah. Sorry, Bosch. So, for example, this is one of his books. Creative Illustration. So you can see it's 1940s style. Let's see. Let's go to a good page in here. But, this kind of stuff. But he has advice on here for composition and layouts. You can definitely tell the style of the time in these images. And you can get them all relatively inexpensively now. But this one's one of the bigger, heavier books. But anyway, I was using his book, Successful Drawing, which is more about perspective drawing. And as my kind of source for the class. But anyway, there's these things when you're doing perspective drawing called measuring points. And he says in there to use measuring points and put them near the center of the composition, basically, or the center line. I won't go into depth in that here just because it take a while, but basically it tells them you put them in a certain place, and that will give you a good kind of layout for your perspective in your drawing. Make sure everything is nice and proportional, which is what those are for. And anyway, so I was teaching that in the class, thinking, I was doing a good job. And then I had a student ask me, why? Why do you put them there? Why is that the right spot to put them? And I did not know. I was just, doing what Loomis said to do. And I was like, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will figure that out. And I went home and I had a series of videos by an artist named Karl Dobsky from the old conceptart.org days. And he had done this series on the basics of perspective. And so I kind of went through those and realized that Loomis was giving probably incorrect information. It's probably like good practical advice for certain situations, but it was incorrect. And you know, it's hard to you know, diss on him a little bit that way, because he's considered by many to be like the person to learn illustration technique from, because his books are so valuable. Like, there's such great information in there. But that was actually wrong advice, and it's actually not that hard to place correct measuring points. I know how to do it now. In fact, technical perspective isn't that difficult. It's just time consuming. But I know now. I know all about measuring points and where they go and why and how they work and all that good stuff. But yeah, so that's ever since then, especially because there's certain things I felt I understood really well or well enough for the level I was teaching at, like freshman or things like that. But once in a while, I've kind of bumped into situations like that where I realized how much I didn't know about a subject when someone had a very basic, good question for me. And luckily or unluckily for me, luckily for the students, I guess, I like to learn new things. And so I'm like, oh, I don't know this thing. Well, I'm going to do a deep dive into that. So I spent a lot of time researching that and finding additional resources. And while I don't know everything about perspective drawing, I've got, the essentials of technical perspective down really, really well. And one of the things that I did for my Ringling students was make perspective in the context of the things that they were doing. So one of the things that's important to a motion designer or a filmmaker, because they're kind of like, they do short animations, is lenses. And so I realized that there's this thing called the cone of vision, which is the range of things that you put into your composition in the perspective grid that prevent distortion. So if you're within this certain kind of area of your perspective grid, there won't be any distortion. So things will look kind of natural and normal, like mostly like the eye sees. Not quite, but mostly. And so I realized that if you kind of narrow it or widen it, you get kind of different lens effects. And so I was saying, oh, well, if you have a really narrow cone of vision, it's like a telephoto lens, like a long lens shot. It's like you're zoomed in from a really far distance onto the perspective space. Or if you've got a wider one, much wider, that's a wide angle lens or a fisheye lens, and that's, you have to change your perspective type to fisheye. Hello, Darth Vader 281. Just chatting about mistakes I've made as a teacher and other mistakes I've seen going on. But I went to Lightbox over the last weekend. I just got in this morning, so here's my pass to Lightbox. I even picked up a ZBrush sticker from the ZBrush pavilion there. So it was really, really good. Got to meet some incredible people, and here's some really good stuff that I think will be helpful for my projects. But I haven't been home a single weekend for the entirety of October, which has been crazy. I've been out camping and doing my plein air paintings. In fact, I haven't shown those yet here, the most recent set. Oops, sorry, Bosch. Oh, let's not throw that on the floor again. Oof. But yeah, so I converted my Xterra into a micro camper, and so I've been taking it out painting in the wilderness. So this is probably the best one from last weekend's trip for the week. That's 2 weeks, a week and a half ago, I guess now. previous weekend. So I went out and did a bunch of landscapes. These are all in gouache in a Moleskine sketchbook. Pretty happy with this one. Kind of got the glow of the leaves in the background. This one, it was a really long uphill hike. Like, it works okay, but it's not what I wanted out of it. And that was the last one I did over the weekend. But yeah, they're pretty small. It's in a little watercolor Moleskine book. And it's actually an old one. I found that I didn't finish filling up. So these paintings here are from like 2017, and these are watercolors. This is 2018. And then these are more of the recent ones that I've been doing. So I cut out, so there's like some demo pages that I cut out. And then so these are painted with gouache. So it's an opaque watercolor, basically. I wasn't happy with this one. It was super windy on that mountain. And then this one didn't quite get to finish this one. But that's gouache. Comes in little tubes, and it's real gouache. There's acrylic gouache, and then there is real gouache. And I like the real gouache a bit better because you can kind of get it wet and rework it. And I really like that about it. So, but it basically it's opaque watercolor, and so you can it's really nice medium because you can paint over the earlier paint and kind of blend it a little bit if you want or not. But it's been a big favorite. I have a little I have a little palette that I've put together. It's got I don't know what 18-ish colors now in it. A couple of them I haven't used much. A couple of those colors, but yeah, I converted my Nissan Xterra, which is like it's a small SUV. They stopped making them in 2006, 2015. Is their last year. People think they're probably going to bring them back because of the popularity of the new Bronco and the Ford Bronco, the new Ford Bronco, and the Toyota 4Runner, along with what's the other one? Land Cruiser. I think they brought that back recently. But and then there's another one called Ineos Grenadier, which is an interesting SUV that's out there on the market for expeditions. But I converted my Xterra into a mini camper so I could go out into the woods and go painting. And so fall is my favorite season. I don't always have too many favorite things, but fall is definitely on that list of favorites. Like I don't really feel that I've got a favorite color or food or that kind of thing, but I do have a favorite season. And so I've been looking forward to getting out and doing that on the weekends. So I've done that every weekend except for, of course, last weekend when I was in California, where they really don't have fall weather, at least in the part I was in. So jumped on that. which is why I haven't been on stream as much either lately. So, um, so I wanted to catch that fall weather, which is half the reason I moved up this way. In addition to the gig I have, I wanted to live in a state where there's 4 seasons. And even though it's pretty mild here in Virginia, for winter and that. Um, hmm. Ugh. I appreciate that, Bills. I don't know, just doodling tonight. I'm tired, so we're just kind of playing around with some inking tools and just doodling on this page. Um, um, so I just got him in this morning from California. So I live in Virginia, but I spent the last weekend, starting on Thursday, in California, going to Lightbox, which is a big event out in Pasadena, and so I want to finish those comic pages that I was playing around with, and so it was really inspirational to go out there and see all the artists and what they're doing, and have meet some people I really respect and have discussions with them and hear what they say about different things. And let's see, where's the ruler triangle at? There we go. So I live in the United States. So I live in Richmond, Virginia, on the East Coast. Well, not quite coast, but pretty close. Yeah, a couple hours away drive to the East Coast. But so I live south of Washington, D.C. So California, Pasadena is on the other side of the country. It's a 3-hour difference in time. So most I'm sketching here to no problem. What is your native language? Ah, Portuguese. No falo português. Sadly. Wouldn't mind learning, but I don't have time right now. I had some roommates who were Brazilian, and once upon a time. Uh-oh. but they were learning English, and I don't speak Portuguese, so but it was fun having them there. It was one of the summertime kind of summer classes they were taking as exchange students. They were Brazilian. Come on, you. Don't get stuck on things, everybody. Just go in the thing. There we go. Running low on water. I might run downstairs and get some real quick. In fact, maybe I'll do that real quick. I'll be right back. I'm underrated. Hopefully not by too much. Let's see. Yeah, I'm back. I prefer drawing on paper most of the time. I'm good on the computer and iPad and all that good stuff, but my students seem to like me okay. I'm yeah, definitely stick around. Definitely trying to grow, all of my socials again. I'm trying to get back to that, which is part of what getting back to the teaching site is for. Even if it's not for you specifically, if you know someone that would be good for. Yeah, I've definitely let people know I'm trying to get the subscriber count on YouTube up, and Twitch too is good, but definitely like to get that going. But I've mostly just been live streaming. It'd probably help if I made actual videos. Playing around with the concept where I've been trying a couple things here, so you can see over there. I'm just kind of doodling tonight. I need to go back to finishing that comic project, but I'm just really worn out from the trip that I just got back in from. Still haven't reached that magical 500 subscribers on there. But yeah, so I want to finish that, and then I've got the the concept stuff I've been working on too. To get back to that, but yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I spoke spoke Portuguese, but sadly do not. I do speak other languages, just not that one. So I don't know if your Russian's any good, or your Lithuanian, or your Cantonese, maybe. My Cantonese isn't great, but I still speak some of it. I don't know if they have subtitles on the live stuff. You think they would, so that could help. Yeah, I understand that feeling very well. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to practice, right? Look up things you don't know as you're hanging out. Or you can just ask me, there's a better explanation for something that I say. I know I'm often speaking to an international audience here. And I'm talking to a couple different places at the same time too. So I'm also live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, like you see in the message on Instagram. So, yeah, I heard a lot of interesting thoughts at Lightbox, at the Lightbox convention. One of the things I thought was interesting is all of the Star Wars people. So I went to a couple of different Star Wars artists panels or group discussions, and one of the things that they said they always try to do, and I don't know that they do it as well anymore because I don't like a lot of new Star Wars. I'd want to like it, but I don't. I think for good reasons, but one of the things they point out is that when they're trying to design their ships and characters and locations, they want a 5-year-old to be able to draw it, basically. So being able to see it being very simple, and that a small child can understand what's happening and kind of draw it, even if it's in a childish way. And I thought that was a very interesting thought on their design principles. What I'm working on here, though, this is just a rough idea I had. I've got a larger concept project that I'm working on as a portfolio update. And, time is it 9:11? Alright. I have to go till 10. I'm trying to stay awake so I can go to bed on time so I can kill my jet lag. Since I was, on the other side of the country earlier. But there's some pointing out one of the things they like to do is to design all of their ships and locations in a very simple way, so that it would be fun for a young child. So if you think about Star Wars, the things like the Millennium Falcon, right, has a very simple shape, or the X-wing spaceship, has a very, very simple shape. The Death Star is a big, simple shape. It's a circle with a circle inside. And so they were saying is that makes it easy for a small child to understand. And therefore, a child can draw those things, even if it's very simple, like a child would draw, but they can remember those shapes and draw them from their imagination. And that's always one of their goals with their designs, is to keep it simple enough so that it's something a child could be accessible to a child, and therefore it's also accessible. There's a lot of detail and things too, so it's also accessible to other people. But the foundation is that it gets a child excited about it. So I thought that was very thoughtful. Yes, I heard Doug Chang say that. So he's their big creative director there, and he worked on a lot on the prequels. He designed the battle droids, a lot of the spaceships in the prequels and things like that. And then I heard Ryan Church say that, and he did a lot of color keyframes in the prequels. They're still working with Lucasfilm today, but I heard both of them say that while I was there. Ian McCaig, I heard him say similar things, not exactly that, but similar things. Just getting that inner child excited, and also what would get a little kid excited as well, but not just that they could draw it, but that they're excited about it. But this is an engine. I was thinking. I've been trying to think of ways because I've got this portfolio project I've been working on, and I had some good ideas while I was out there. It weren't directly from anything I saw. They just kind of came because I was doing some sketching before I went in for the convention. Because I wake up very early because I'm on a different time zone than than California. Because in California it's 3 hours earlier, yeah, 3 hours earlier than it is here. So if it's 9 p.m. here, it's 6 p.m. there, because it's several thousand miles away, right? And but I thought that was very interesting in terms of how they were commenting on their design thoughts, because they don't really write the stories. They just design the characters and the locations and all that. So um, they're not the ones that build the sets. But yeah, some thought. So part of this kind of larger portfolio project, I've been doing a world building project, and been thinking about ways things work, so that because I want to tell a story with it, and one of the things I want to have is kind of this integration of plant life and technology, and been messing with different styles and ways that things look, but no problem. No, don't ever hesitate to ask questions. Um, yeah, so I had some really good ideas, I think, while I was there, for some ways that things would work. Because I like for things to kind of be at least internally coherent, even if they're not exactly like the real world. They should feel like they make sense in their own world. and that it's easy to understand. And good evening. is there paint ink coming out the back of this thing? Ink all over the place. What's going on here? Somebody leaking? Any down there. Don't see any leaking. Yeah. Wonder where that ink came from. I got it all over my hand. I don't know how. Oh, thank you there, peanut butter. Appreciate that. Just doing a little doodling tonight. Some post lightbox recovery. Well, I'm having a good time, so I'm not too worried about nothing. I'm just exhausted, but should be fine. Hopefully, but well, tomorrow's going to be exhausting. Tomorrow's a long teaching day, but let's see. Stay on probably for another half hour. We will shut it down for the night, and I can get back to more of a regular schedule. Good evening. I appreciate that. Just doing a little doodling tonight. Good evening. Good evening. I'm just playing around. This is, I've been messing around with this idea of kind of mixing plants and technology, sort of plant punk, if you will. I don't think that's officially anything, but playing around with that with my portfolio project I've been developing, and so just some kind of engine. And then the inking style is kind of similar to what you might find from Mobius. And I'm using these technical pens from Rapidograph, Kohinoor Rapidographs. Well, thank you, Pia. Appreciate that. I'm just kind of doodling tonight because I'm actually really, really exhausted. I just got in from Lightbox, where I spent the last weekend. And yeah, so I have a larger portfolio project where I'm kind of playing around with that, and so I thought I would sketch. This is fairly abstract, so it doesn't require a lot from my brain. And play around with the forms a little bit, get a little shadow on there with it. But yeah, so I don't know if anyone's not familiar with Lightbox. It's a big convention. It's put together, if you're familiar with Bobby Chu and Schoolism, the tutorial website. I started doing it in 2019, I think was the first year. Actually, I got to present at it a couple years ago for an app, the Infinite Painter app. And then anyway, but I finally got to attend this year, so we went with. I was originally just going to go by myself, and then we had a new department chair come in, and he helped put together some money for students to attend. So it's a scholarship for 5 students to go, and they got them all a certain amount of money so they could afford to go more easily, and a bunch of other students came too because it's really good for all of them. And so we got to meet alumni, and a lot of students got to get their portfolios reviewed and meet artists that they respect, and all that good stuff. And yeah, so I was out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flew back, started Sunday night, and didn't get into town until 11 a.m. So I had the red-eye flight, which was exhausting, but happy to be here. Either way. But I had a great time. I avoided buying a lot of merch. Only thing, I picked up a few pins, but didn't do that others. But I got to meet the guy who who designed Darth Maul. So Ian McCaig. It was it's in Pasadena, California. So the LA area. And they do it at this time of year. And it was amazing. There's all these illustrators and designers and animators and companies. And it was a really good event. Glad I went. So I got to spend time with him. I met Doug Chang. A lot of these people are like Star Wars people that I went to. So I went to a lot of the panels that they do. Well, I'm not a big fan of contemporary Star Wars, or the prequels. I'm still a big fan of the art that gets done for those things. I think the people that are making the designs are doing really beautiful work, and you can't always help what the ultimate product is for. And you can't do that much about that, but maybe that's where it was in the lid or something. Ink. Get out of there. Alright, that should be better. Yeah, I met the lady who designed Jar Jar Binks. Well, she's designed a lot of things, but that's probably the most famous design. Tara Whitlatch. Yeah, she's worked on all kinds of movies, but that's probably her most famous character design. I don't think she designed the voice, though. Doug Chang. Met him. I met... ton of really great people. So I saw some old friends. I saw old students. One of whom is a Disney Imagineer, which is kind of fun for her. So, yeah, it was a great event, and glad I went. I'm exhausted, so I was so tired the last night I was there, the second day, that the Airbnb I was at, the neighbors were having a big party. I guess because the Dodgers won the game against the Yankees. I don't really pay that much attention to sports, but they had like this big fiesta, Spanish, fiesta with like guitars and horns and the whole shebang, and I was worried it was going to keep me up, but I just went right to sleep and didn't get up until I woke up around like 4:30 in the morning, which for me is 7:30 in the morning, so not really that early, but I was talking all day and meeting with people and all the good stuff. So it was a great little great trip. So really glad I went, even though I'm completely exhausted. So so yeah, really glad I went. I appreciate that, Mitchell. Just doing some doodling tonight. I'm exhausted, so didn't want to jump back into other things. So I've told other people before, I haven't been home a single weekend this month. Um, Hello, GG. Good game, I guess. Respect the game. Yeah. But probably only be on for about 10 more minutes and call it a day, because I got a long teaching day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Got my concept design classes I've running tomorrow. And then independent study students after that. So I got a full day of it tomorrow. I'm just playing around. I've drawn engines before, so I've been playing around with this idea of mixing technology and plant stuff as part of a larger portfolio project, like a world building project that I have stories I want to tell with it. And I had some ideas when I was at Lightbox, walking around and just thinking, and something I saw specifically there, but just I don't think so. But something I've been trying to figure out, and I think I finally had some moments of inspiration that I think are helpful, that will help me kind of help make the story that I've made make more sense, and get at the aesthetic that I'm trying to get to. So I want to be able to communicate very clearly with specific elements of the design language. So that the choices about the shapes that I'm using and how they define different elements. So you kind of understand how the world works just by how it looks. And I had some good, I think hopefully some good thoughts, while I was out there working on stuff. Yeah, I have a good time. I've been using these ones over here I used this type of pen, a technical pen. These are Kohinoor's repeatographs. A full set of them, if you go online to buy a brand new set, they're pretty expensive. I got a set that was only lightly used for about $40, which is really cheap. But they're refillable pens that kind of they're specific widths on them, so they're called technical pens because they're used for rendering like architecture or engineering diagrams back in the day. No, they don't really get used that much for that anymore. It's all done on the computer, but you can still get the pens and the ink for them. And so I've always wanted a set, and I got to looking on eBay and found one that was lightly used and inexpensive. But I'm using Hunt 102 here, just because I'm doing a little smaller one. But I'm just kind of killing time. I want to stop here in about 7 minutes. But I had some good thoughts. I think that will be helpful for my own ability to design. So I was trying to think of the threshold between one thing and another thing and how I kind of bring them together but also keep them separate, and that's been one of the things I've been trying to figure out for this project. And because I don't have an art director, I just have me. It takes a little more time to figure that kind of thing out. So, just kind of how I want to structure it. So yeah, I think I found the bridge that I've been looking for that doesn't confuse what I want to do. So yeah, so I think it'll help me with the storytelling that I'm trying to do with it too, because that's always, you know, what it's in service of is the story, whatever that is. And you don't always know what that exact story is, but I think this will help me kind of nail it down better. But I think we're gonna call it a I think I'm gonna call it here for the night. And today's the 29th, is that what today is? I think. I like to put the dates on these things. Sometimes I forget to put dates on things, and then I'm looking back at it, and I don't remember exactly when I did things, which is not, you know, helpful for me. But thank you to everybody that came in. I appreciate it. Conversation and the questions, compliments, and we'll see everybody next time.